Hey everyone, welcome to another video of Saturdays with Gaia. So my topic for today is Asexuality 101. And that is a topic I have a bit of twists and self-doubts about what I used to do. And I'm going to give my story to have you see my views over Asexuality 101. So I would used to give talks that were basically structured as Asexuality 101. The problem, though, was that I fell into a lot of these sort of unassailable characters that I accidentally excluded people from the community, which was not my intention at all. For example, in order to make a visibility point, I would say that asexuality has nothing to do with sexual abuse, or sexual fear, or sexual issues, and so on. But what unintentionally came out of my sayings was, you can't be asexual and have a history of sexual abuse. Or you can be asexual and have social issues, which was actually excluding myself from the asexual definition. So I used to define asexuality very strictly. And I think I really isolated certain characters that people had to have to get into our community. And I wasn't trying to do that. I mean, even back then, I knew that what I said was perceived that way, but it really wasn't my intention. What I really wanted to do is to help people sharpen the tools that they have for self-exploration. And it just came out in a very isolating way. And it was only when I came across the Hot Pieces of Ace series of videos about the unassailable asexual that I was blown away. I was blown away. Only then have I realized how much pressure I've put myself under. I put myself under pressure to be perceived as normal as I could, so people would accept asexuality. And because I put myself in a position of being a spokesperson and representing the community. And so I didn't want anyone to identify flaws that I identified in myself, because I feared they would connect that with asexuality and would get the wrong idea about what being asexual means. So in the Army, I gave talks that were basically structured, as I said, like Asexuality 101. And some of the things I said in these talks still make a lot of sense to me. For example, differing asexuality from celibacy, or differing sexual attraction from sexual arousal, or talking about how as asexuals we can still be intimate with people. But a lot of the things there are very hard for me now. For example, saying that it's a sexual orientation, I don't know if it's a sexual orientation. No one really knows if it's a sexual orientation. So it's one thing feeling that way about myself. But as a community, some people, might not identify with the thought that asexuality is sexual orientation. And we don't have any research backing things up. Any research that has been done is pretty limited. So, it's okay saying this is the way I experience asexuality and my sexual orientation, but I would describe it as this is what asexuality is, and that bothers me now. I want to show the asexual community as a community of people who are not fucked up. But, some asexuals might be fucked up. Some asexuals might have troubles with themselves or with other people. I mean, for me, I had an interesting experience giving talks about asexuality to people who knew me to begin with and to people who didn't know me from before. And in talks to people who didn't know me from before, I would get responses like, oh, you're really charismatic and lively and funny and comfortable. And however, in the talks I gave in the Army, to people who knew me for about a year, they said that it's interesting how charismatic I am about this subject when I have so many social issues. And I definitely have social issues. I have troubles with social anxiety and with connecting to people, and a lot of things that I did not want people to know about me because I represented asexuality. I didn't want people to find out I had social anxieties because I represented asexuality, and I didn't want it to be connected with it. And so I even excluded myself from the definition in a way. So when I came to do this video, I was trying to think, what is the most basic thing that we asexuals still build a community around? Because there is something, that is basic in our community, and our communities build around. And we still want to represent it well, and we want to feel connected to it. But we have this very, beautiful and interesting diversity in the community. And I've been having this discussion with a lot of people lately, ever since I came across the Hot Pieces of Ace, unassailable asexual videos, about what it means to have a label, and what are the benefits of having a label, and what are the problems of having a label. And one of the benefits is that it's easier when it comes to visibility. It's easier to describe a label than a very diverse community of people, but I believe it's less appealing to the people outside of the community hearing about the community, but more importantly, to people from inside the community. And the way I see it, we do have a basic thing that draws us into the asexual community. And I think there is a sort of beacon in the base of the community that says it's okay to not be sexual. And you can come here to explore in which ways you want to connect with people in ways that society might not let you. And this is a place for you to explore how you want to connect with the sexuality in ways that society might make you feel shameful for. Anything else, it's impossible to define what is asexual and what is not, because we have this huge diversity. It's not like a math definition that you have certain numbers that go under this very defined group and certain numbers that just don't fit in. As human beings, we're not summed up in numbers or in letters, which is why having such a strict label just doesn't work well for a community of human beings. So for me, asexuality one-on-one doesn't exist. And I don't think there's a 101 for being asexual. I think we have a beacon that draws us all very close. That sort of beacon of it's okay to not be sexual and it's completely fine. But I think that everything else is so diverse that it's just impossible to have a 101 introduction to the asexual community. And I know that I spun kind of out of topic, but I've been having so many self-doubts and issues with this subject for months because I put myself in a spokesperson position. And because I wanted to represent the asexual community respectfully and truthfully. And I can't put it aside and do what I used to do, which is this sort of asexuality 101, and talk in generalizations that exclude people from the community, including excluding myself. So I'm going to let other people do a more informative video of what asexuality means, because for me it's very hard to do that without falling into the unassailable asexual or the golden star asexual image that I don't want to fall into.